Under the scorching heat of a typical day in the countryside, José, a man in his mid-30s, pushed his worn-out plow through the cracked, dry soil. His hands were rough from years of hard labor, and the sweat on his brow was a constant reminder of the daily struggle. His life had always been this way, working the land, barely scraping by. His small, humble house on the outskirts of town offered little more than a roof over his family's head and a meal on the table when there was enough to go around. He and his wife, Maria, had 2 young children to feed. Life in the countryside, though peaceful in its simplicity, was often unforgiving. Every day felt like an uphill battle, and José was beginning to wonder if things would ever change. That night, after a long day's work, José sat at the family's small wooden table. They ate rice and beans, the simplest of meals, under the dim light of a flickering candle. Maria, a woman with dark hair tied back in a simple knot, looked at him with concern. She had a soft face that spoke of years of worry, but her eyes were full of determination. "José, is there really no way out of this? Are we destined to live like this forever?" she asked quietly, breaking the silence. José paused, his spoon still in midair. He looked at his wife, his gaze distant but filled with an unspoken promise. "I don't know, Maria," he said softly, "but I'm going to find a way. Something's got to change. I can't keep living like this." It wasn't the first time José had voiced such thoughts, but something in the way he said it that night was different. There was a fire in his chest, a stirring of hope. Deep down he knew that this time he would find the path that could lead them out of their poverty. He had no idea where that path would be or how it would come to him, but something told him it was coming. The next morning, José woke up before dawn, his mind already racing with possibilities. The sun had yet to rise, and the world was still wrapped in the cold, quiet silence of the early hours. He left his small house with only a few coins in his pocket and made his way to the town square, determined to find any opportunity that could give him a way out. As he passed through the square, his eyes landed on a small building that he had never noticed before. The faded sign on the front read, "Community Library." José had never been much of a reader, and the idea of books didn't particularly interest him, but something about this library intrigued him. It wasn't a large, grand building, but there was a certain sense of calm about it, as if it held answers to questions he had not yet asked. Without thinking much further, he pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air inside was cool and musty, filled with the scent of old paper and dust. Shelves lined the walls, stacked high with books of all shapes and sizes. José's fingers brushed against the spines of several books as he walked through the aisles. Nothing seemed to catch his attention until, at the far end of the library, a small, leather-bound book caught his eye. It was tucked away on a high shelf, almost as if it had been forgotten. The title was embossed in gold letters, "The Secret of 6 Months." Without fully understanding why, José reached up and pulled the book down. He had no idea what the book was about, but something about it felt important. Maybe it was the promise of a secret, of something hidden that could change his life. He carefully placed the book in his bag and left the library, his heart racing with anticipation. That night, after the children had gone to bed, José sat at the small table once again, a single candle flickering beside him. The room was silent except for the sound of his steady breathing. He opened the book, eager to discover its contents. The pages were yellowed with age, but the handwriting inside was neat and precise. As he read, José's heart quickened. The book didn't contain any magical formulas or secrets of hidden treasure. Instead, it offered something far simpler, an approach to life that focused on discipline, patience, and small, consistent steps. The diary outlined 3 steps. 1. Save, even if it's only a small amount. 2. Reinvest what you save. 3. Build relationships with excellence. Jose read the instructions carefully, absorbing every word. It was simple enough, but also profound. The idea of saving even a little seemed almost impossible given his financial situation, but the more he read, the more he felt a surge of hope. It didn't require some grand, unattainable dream. It required small, consistent actions, and it was something he could control. The next day, Jose borrowed $100 from his friend Pedro, a man who had always believed in him. With the money, he repaired his old bicycle, the one that had been lying broken in the corner of his yard for years. He printed out flyers offering his delivery services, hoping to find some small jobs around the town. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The first few days were difficult. His bicycle broke down several times and many shop owners turned him away. Some didn't trust him, and others simply had more established delivery services. At home, Maria questioned whether he was wasting their already limited resources. "Jose, I'm not sure this is a good idea," she said one night, her voice filled with concern. "What if it doesn't work?" Jose looked at his wife, his eyes filled with determination. "If I don't try, Maria, nothing will ever change. I'll keep at it. I know I can make this work." With each small delivery, Jose's reputation grew. He was reliable, friendly, and always on time. Slowly, his small business began to take off. He saved every penny he could and reinvested it into his work, buying a new bicycle, creating business cards, and expanding his services. It wasn't long before a large supermarket hired him for regular deliveries. 6 months after he had picked up that old dusty book, Jose's life had transformed completely. He had paid off his debts, invested in his children's education, and even hired 2 young men from the community to help him with deliveries. His reputation as a trustworthy, hard-working man had spread, and his business was thriving. Maria, who had been so worried at the beginning, looked at him with pride. "Jose, you've done it," she said, her voice full of admiration. "You've turned everything around." Jose smiled and looked at his wife. "I didn't do it alone. It took time, but it was all about starting somewhere.